Hello, I'm Jose, and today I'm going to be discussing anti-corruption and rule of law. So first, I'm going to start off with China. Um, so their anti-corruption efforts mainly focus around the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, and this organization, this committee, is within the CCP. So they're an internal institution enforces their own rules and regulations and tries to combat corruption and malpractice within the party. You can kind of see a problem with that as um, it's really easy to question legitimacy of this because um, if they're running through their own party, are they really going to call themselves out? Um, so I think not having an external source there is really contributing to the idea of corruption within the country. In terms of rule of law, um, China is a one-party state that is around the CCP, and this really contributes to corruption. Having a one-party state is makes it very easy to question legitimacy and the idea of whether or not how corrupt the government is. Um, so, um, so yes, the idea that a one-party state, the CCP, has basically been ruling over China for a while, and there have been no other parties. That idea really contributes to corruption within the country. So moving on, we have Mexico. Then we have the National Anti-Corruption System. You can really see a pattern within these countries is they have specific organizations that are either in the government or outside the government that help with stopping corruption. Now, I think personally that the idea that these organizations are within the government or that they're within the party that rules the government makes it really questionable at times whether or not these countries are really combating corruption or if they're just putting on a show to say so. Because if it's within the party, are they really calling themselves out and are they really being transparent? Um, so yeah, specifically with Mexico, we have the National Anti-Corruption System or the SNA. Um, they've faced a lot of challenges politically. Just in terms, you had the PRI ruling over Mexico for a long time, and that was then it was really easy to question the legitimacy of their government and the corruption within it. Um, but recently, with the new ruling of the Morena Party and the expansion of civil society and media within Mexico, I think has really helped. And I mean, not I think it has really helped Mexico as a whole. Um, and so when you bring in rule of law, um, so Mexico runs on a democracy, a legal system, and they want to strengthen the judiciary and legal institutions within their government. Um, and I think it's also very important to discuss the impact of crime and the money that they have within the government on the rule of law. So, because of the cartels, because of the money that's within the government, it's really easy to see all the corruption that can be within the Mexican government, um, especially, yeah, just in terms of cartel and how deadly they can be. All the money and power that's within that system, I think, is really easy to see the corruption and override the law in that case. Moving on to Iran, we're going to start. See, they have the General Inspection Organization, Common Pattern, these organizations. So they discuss the influence of religious and political factors on anti-corruption efforts. Um, so since Iran rules on Sharia law, um, they examine the role of the law and its impact on the legal framework within the country. Um, in talking about that, um, the challenges faced politically and culturally. Um, Iran is really a lot of people in Iran are looking for progression as just ruling strictly by religion is seen as it's too traditional. It's not progressive enough, and I think that um, this organization, General Inspection Organization, is trying to make sure that things progress within the country. Um, Moving on to the UK, so I think with the 6 countries that we study, the UK is seen as the most stable in this sense. So they have the Serious Fraud Office, and they analyze legal framework and regulatory measures within the country. Um, and something that's interesting is the role of international cooperation combats corruption within this country. And the UK has a strict commitment to the rule of law, which all these steps here make it clear that the UK makes a serious effort to eliminate the idea of corruption within the government. Um, so they have a discussion on the independence of the judiciary and legal safeguards within the country. And so, in terms of challenges, recent controversies and debates, you can look at Brexit and the referendum there, and you can just see how the country is pretty transparent with their government. So I think the UK does a very good job um, with anti-corruption within the government. So moving on, we have Russia, the Anti-Corruption Council, but Russia has a lot of problems with corruption um, because you have one man pretty much being the head of a government. And since there's no independence of the judiciary within the government, it's very easy to see the corruption there. Um, so a lot of people are pushing more for reforms and efforts to strengthen the rule of law, not rule by law in the state, because you have pretty much a one man show with Vladimir Putin in Russia. So, um, so that's why I think Russia is probably the biggest example of this corruption within the country, with these AP6 countries. So moving on to Nigeria. So Nigeria has the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. They have they're very similar to Mexico in terms of trying to combat corruption, but they've expanded civil society to advocate for transparency. They The EFCC discusses issues of corruption and inefficiency within the government, and there's a lot of ongoing reforms and efforts to strengthen lethal institutions within the country, and the impact of uh, insecurity on the rule of law in the land is important to see when discussing Nigeria. So, just a brief comparison within all these countries. I noticed that China and Iran have exerted strong centralized efforts through institutions in the government like the CCDI and GIO. Russia, Mexico, and Nigeria have also done so, but they still have a lot of challenges, such as political interference within these institutions and resource constraints because these countries don't have as much power. And as I mentioned earlier, the UK stands out for its anti-corruption efforts, with international bodies like the OECD demonstrating commitment to global anti-corruption efforts and to show the world that they're as open as can be in regards to government. Another thing about the UK is that they're known for a well-established and independent judiciary. China and Russia face concerns regarding political influence on the legal system. As I said, Russia is pretty much a one-man show. So, and their judicial system is within their political within their political system, within their government. Um, so this can really contribute to corruption. Nigeria also uh, faces issues with challenges linked to corruption within the judiciary. Um, so, in terms of cultural and religious influences, Iran's legal system is deeply rooted in Islamic law. Um, while Mexico's legal system is shaped by a mix of civil and customary law. Um, so these two are Iran and Mexico are really influenced culturally and religiously within their legal systems. China and Iran showcase a strong political will, but face challenges in ensuring transparency. Mexico and Nigeria grapple with corruption deeply rooted in political structures. And then Russia faces skepticism regarding the genuine commitment to anti corruption measures because, as I said, there's a one man show with Vladimir Putin. And just considering the fact that their anti corruption agency is within the country makes it hard to believe the attempt to stop corruption. And then civil society is very important in terms of anti-corruption. The UK benefits from active civil society participation. China, Russia, and Iran, since they place so many restrictions on civil societies, um, it's that's not really as much as a helpful factor in regards to ending um, corruption. While you see Mexico and Nigeria have really expanded their civil societies, and they're really trying to change their government and make it a lot more transparency for the people to believe. So so yeah, that's pretty much all I have in terms of corruption. These countries face different challenges in terms of the way they rule. Um, so, uh, thank you.